That means that theoretically, if nothing happens and you don't spend anything, and you don't take out any purchases on your line of credit, and you keep getting promoted and keep making more money, you might, in your lifetime, get rid of your debt. So there's like 5 to 10% of people live in that retrievable debt stage. They're like the middle management, like your boss's boss is probably like that kind of person. 70 to 80% of the people on the grid in the world, which is basically everybody, are in what's called irretrievable debt. The number of these people are drifters. Drifters are when you can't make enough money in your lifetime to get rid of your debt. So there's not really a point in trying. You should just keep doing your job because they're not going to kill you. You're just going to always owe money. And then when you die, that debt will pass to your children, and something else will happen. The future is dark and terrifying! 10 to 15% of the population...
That already happens.
10 to 15% of the population lives in fatal debt. Fatal debt, also known as the worthless or dead men walking, are people who... So most people are drifters, meaning that they can't make enough money to get out of debt. What a worthless person or a dead man walking, one of these fatal debt people is actuaries and mathematicians basically look at your balance sheet, your bank account, and if you can't produce enough value to make up for your debt, like I could be a worker and be making like $5 an hour, right? But the stuff I make is really good and they sell it for a lot. If I get to the point where I owe so much money that the stuff I make can't even be worth it, like I can't even produce enough value, I'm not worth enough to the world anymore, I go into fatal debt, I am taken off the street, and I am either executed or put on a game show called Fatal Debt. Now, to describe what this is, you have to consider in this world that the history that you are taught in this world is that things like governments and whether it's like democracy, monarchy, these words don't matter anymore. Any form of government didn't work. It's like when we moved out of having tribes to having like civilizations. This is like after that. So the corporations are like, they had their shot, it didn't work. The dinosaurs died, then it was the mammals. Governments died, now it's corporations. So ideas about like, even things like law, like there's no law. What are you talking about? You're not a criminal because there is no crime. You got fired, and when you're fired, you're a ghost. And when you're a ghost, you're not human. Anything can happen to you.
But just to be clear though, like you don't think of debt. You don't think of which most of you guys here are drifters. You don't think of debt like as being a bad thing. Like everyone just lives that way. Like it's not just what it is.
Right.
You know, like it's accepting. It's not like you're sad because you're like my life sucks. It's not like that. It's like you just live in that world. Like that's just what it is now.
Right. And
you know? And no offense, like some people do very much live in a world right now where they are consistently in debt.
I've been
in college.
I've been in debt. I have been in debt for 5 years now.
Yeah,
I'm like,
and you know it's true though. I think it's actually true, isn't it? That if your parents die with a certain amount of debt, I think it's passed down.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Like if you die and your parents have a lot of debt, you inherit
but
that
if
debt.
that's not all in material possessions that they can take.
So the point. So just for your understanding, so the idea of being in debt isn't terrifying to you. Being in fatal debt is, and it's also the idea that when you sign these, I'll describe this is what your life looks like growing up. Growing up, you go into compulsory education that comes out of your pocket. You are educated through 2nd grade. At the end of 2nd grade, you take what's called a vocational placement exam. 90% of students fail that exam and are entered into the workforce. So at the age of 9, at the age of like 8 or 9, 9 out of every 10 kids is put into the workforce. That remaining 1 out of 10 continues education through 12th grade. Your family units are a little bit messed up. Once you're in the workforce, you're an adult, and once you're an adult, your corporation can trade you like a commodity. So let's say that Walcorp is shutting down one of their branches, they can sell your contract to another corporation. So you could come home and have your wife and your 2 kids and all their stuff be gone, and have a notice saying your wife and 2 children's contracts have been sold to IMG group. They've been moved to Beijing.
And they say this isn't slavery.
Well, no, because you're allowed to quit, and within weeks you'll go into fatal debt and be killed. Like, you're allowed to quit your job, but no other corporation's going to hire you. It's an indefinite employment contract. You're allowed to have all this stuff. You have a credit card. You can buy a TV. You can buy a motorcycle. It's just that if you go into too much
Real
debt,
quick
they'll kill
though,
you.
too, like, we all, just to give you an understanding, like, we all live in a system today. I mean, like, there's credit cards and all that stuff. There's people that live outside the system today. We're a ghost.
Keep your politics to yourself.
There's no politics in this game. There's no politics. Why?
So, you know, ghosts don't necessarily mean,
Come
because you're a ghost, it doesn't mean that everyone's a ghost is like a crackhead murderer that lives in some like weird, like mutated like building on the outskirts of town. There are people that live outside the system. Just in your opinion, you don't know of them because it's just like you live in gated communities and such. So there are people who probably have left this system and have gone off the grid or whatever it is and are living somewhere out there, but you never heard of them again, so they're ghosts to you. So you have no idea. It's terrifying, the idea of doing that, because you're pretty much starting with nothing when you have no money.
And you're not even allowed really to fraternize with employees of other corporations. If your family gets shipped off to another corporation, their contract gets sold, you're not really allowed to fraternize with them anymore. You kind of have to move on. Most people in this world take one form or another of what's called an anti-isolation medication, which inhibits the chemical that makes you feel lonely.
That sounds good.
So the state of debt. You're born, you're educated, you're medicated, you're in debt. At the age of 8, you probably sign an indefinite employment contract, or you're killed, or you escape and become a ghost. Now, going into last thing, so if you're one of these kids who went into the workforce at around age 8, you were likely moved away from your family and became a part of what's called a kinder gang. Most of these kids band together and end up doing things when they're like 9 or 10 years old, where they like go out, they ride out in jeeps and like murder ghosts at the edge of town. Because again, there's no law, there's no community, there's no country. As long as you're at your job on time, you're fine.
Get out there in a Jeep.
You tie a platform to your foot and just hit the.
We had our driver.
Real quick. We'll go now into questions at the end. So, but like, eventually you guys grow out of the kinder gangs, but like, a lot of people that are now going into their 20s and 30s were like the first kids to be a part of that, and so have that as part of their backstory that happened to them. Because again, it's like Lord of the Flies. You went to like, if you were inducted into the workforce at age 9, you weren't getting an upper class like administrative job. You were getting a laborer job. So you're like in an iron smelt somewhere with a bunch of other 9-year-olds working a 16-hour day. And at night you got to let loose some steam, so you go murder poor people. Amen. Going back. Quiet. Question at the end. We don't have time. The state of religion, real quick. Most religions are one form or another of what's called ghosting, like old world stuff that doesn't really apply anymore. Most of you don't subscribe to one of those old religions. I mean, you may, but you can probably keep it secret. The 3 main religions that people sort of have in these days are what's called holisticism, which is just a big ball of like self-help books, candles and crystals, new age kind of pablum, like tabloid spirituality, and like Oprah mixed together. So it's kind of like that feel good, like The Secret. Like life isn't about changing your circumstances. It's about reacting to your circumstances positively. Like envision a better world, and it will happen. Holisticism.
Firmly 19
And
credits.
like holistic priests are sort of like you don't have to get a degree to be a holistic priest. There's no real like the fires of hell and the light of heaven. It's like, I believe in the spiritual. What is that? It's nice. It's nice. The other main religion is called objectivism, which is basically like Ayn Rand.
Ah, yes!
Like, objectivism is like, some people are born better than other people. Like, you know, like, the cream rises to the top. You gotta be the best that there is. Like, objectivism is like, sort of like a result of like humanism and atheism. We're like, there's no supernatural. We're not connected. It's every person for themselves. So 3 minutes? Oh, jeez. All right, I'll finish up fast.
But your voice does sound nice.
Objectivism, you would think that like the upper crust people believe in objectivism. There's janitors that think they're better than everybody. Like, people of every stripe are objectivists. The last one is basically, it doesn't really have a name, it's sort of a cult kind of thing. It's what's called cyber shamanism, which is this belief, it's a belief that people are messing with robot intelligence enough in 2064 that someone is going to create a robot intelligence smart enough to fix all of this mess. So it's basically a belief in a robot messiah, a singularity that's going to be created and fix everything. And it's also a belief in people that are like believe in the Matrix, but want to go there because this world sucks. Like, people that like, there's a virtual reality you can get to that's like paradise. And if we can find it, we can all live there together. We can do more tomorrow morning. There's robots, they're colonizing Mars. Skip over that. And tomorrow we'll go over more, but basically the biggest show on the air is Fatal Debt. It's a game show where people that are in Fatal Debt are selected or sometimes volunteer for the show and go on and basically survive. It's like they're being killed on live television. They're trying, they're trying to kill each other and survive. The last person standing has their debt recused, so they have all of their debt forgiven. And that is Fatal Debt. We will be. This game will take place in the 10th season finale of Fatal Debt. We don't really have time.
You can take like 3 questions.
Just 3 questions? Summer.
What happens when you become too old to work but still have your debt? Like, if you turn 90 and you can't work anymore but you're still alive, what happens to you?
Oh.
Well, why would they?
There's no retirement plan.
You work for the.
What if you're like working
You
on
need
a
an easier job so that you don't get your job.
You guys. There's no community consideration. You work until you die. That's your contract. Indefinite
No,
employment.
I mean, like, what if you're like disabled? Work to the what if you're like work to the point where like you can't move? But
There's
you're still
no
alive?
point.
Then you'll probably
There's
be.
no point to support a non-asset.
Then you probably will be euthanized, and your family will incur the cost of how expensive it was to kill you.
So don't run for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do it nice and clean.
Question
Don't
2, Zed.
clean up.
How much free I'm assuming that if you're like a holistic priest, you do that on your free time because they're not going to pay you to do that. And how much free time does the average person have?
It depends on your job and your level of the level of the job you have. The average work day is a 12-hour work day.
It's not a long day.
This is nice. I love it.
Jack, last question.
Is there any of the freedoms, like is there no freedom of speech? Like,
There is here. I'll try to sell it to you. It's not totalitarian and oppressive because there's no government oppressing you. There is no free speech and there is no not free speech.
Yeah.
The corporations just run themselves and do their business, which is why there's no law against murdering. You can go out and murder someone as long as you're not depriving a corporation of a worker. It's like
Then you have to
they
pay for them,
don't
right?
care. There's no laws. There's no community. They don't care. Only the companies are left. That's the last question I can take.
What about the stock market?
No! That's it!
What's the
Blame
status
me
of social
and my
media?
candy cane.
I have a Facebook account in 2064.
You guys decided it sounds like fun, right?
We're all gonna
Take that from someone blonde.
No, I've had it for years.
Oh, now I get why.
Hey! Silence! Silence!
That's candy cane.
Silence! Yes, your Facebook will still exist in 2064.
Alright.
All of that information will be on the internet about you forever.
Oh god.
Okay.